to talk about something that's really near and dear to, should be near and dear to our hearts, and that's really traffic safety. This year, thus far, as we go 8 months into this year, has been one of the bloodiest years in terms of traffic safety in the history of Austin, Texas. To date, we have had 63 crashes, which have resulted in the deaths of 67 people. That is 63 crashes with 67 deaths. Each and every one of those deaths was completely, absolutely, undoubtedly, unequivocally preventable. What we're going to talk about today is hoping that, number one, talk about our strategies as a community that is a multidisciplinary, multi-agency, public-private partnership to try to stem the flow of blood on our streets. But we're also going to talk about the importance of personal accountability and responsibility. The Austin Police Department takes traffic safety very seriously, traffic enforcement very seriously. While some would say that when we write a ticket, when we make a traffic stop, it's about income, it's about generating revenue, and I say absolutely not. It's about correcting behavior, and it's about reducing crashes, reducing injury, and ultimately it's about saving lives. To that end, the department has many initiatives that it employs on a regular basis. We aggressively pursue and stop people from speeding that we know causes problems. Our traffic safety initiatives also go after aggressive drivers, pedestrians that continue to cross mid-block, sometimes on blind curves, sometimes right in front of cars, and too often they're being killed. We focus on bicycle and motorcycle safety, and also holding bicyclists and motorcycle riders to the rules of the road, and not just the drivers and four-wheeled vehicles. We look at crash hotspot enforcement, which includes places where we know people are blowing red lights, stop signs, and other contributing factors that occur in terms of crashes. We have our speed, school zone speed enforcement, which includes the hand-free texting, cell phone use ordinance, not only the local ordinance, but the state law. We have our DWI, no refusal weekends and during selected holidays and events. We have aggressively pursued federal grants, and we're so thankful to our state partner and our federal partners in DOT and the Department of Transportation at the national level, and DOT here in terms of Texas, that fund the STEP grant. With the STEP grant, we aggressively enforce DWI and speed laws and other laws. Impaired driving mobilization grants that afford us the opportunity to have our no refusal weekends. Our click it or ticket, which we know that the best chances of surviving a crash involve wearing a seatbelt, putting your child in the safety seat, in the booster seat, or if you're riding a bicycle or riding a motorcycle, wearing a helmet. Our MIXAP grant, which is the Motor Carrier Safety Program grant, where we were one of the first cities in the country, actually municipalities in the country, we were the first one to receive that, that deals with aggressive driving. Our MIXAP grant that deals with commercial vehicle enforcement. Our Arrive Alive Central Texas campaign that involves over 22 agencies in the region that do everything we can during special weekends, long weekends, to keep people safe here. The department's also involved in numerous local, state, and federally hosted traffic safety campaigns, which include Vision Zero for pedestrian safety, which includes Look Twice and Share the Road, which means look twice to look for oncoming traffic when you're a pedestrian, or share the road if you're a driver. Be safe, be seen, again for pedestrian enforcement. Be safe, drive smart for work zone safety. Don't block the box, which some people think it's about just clearing intersections, but don't block the box is also about making sure that we don't become frustrated as drivers when somebody enters an intersection against the law and blocks that intersection and creates further log jams, and then we're all in the wrong mindset. It's keeping people in the right mindset. Now, obviously, our red light program. To date, since June, I've asked my folks that we were going to step up our enforcement. I want the community to know that thanks to our area commands and our traffic enforcement command is behind us. Like I said, we had a meeting just a little while ago talking about these issues. Since June, we have, with some of that grant funding and our on-duty resources, we have had quite a few specialized enforcement efforts that have resulted since June in 93 additional DWI arrests during these efforts, 112 other arrests for other violations of the law, the issuance of 8,724 hazardous citations, the issuance of 1,404 non-hazardous citations, 240 warnings, and 108 pedestrian violations. It's important for individuals to know that these pedestrian fatalities that we're talking about that account for a pretty good chunk of our fatalities, 31% are on arterial streets, 19% are on local streets, 12% are on IH-35. I want you to think about that. We have people that are using the state highway as a cut-through, as a shortcut. I know that not just from the crash data that we have where people are getting killed, but I know that from actually writing a ticket to somebody last summer that was crossing 290, then white, middle of the day, because they wanted to go take a shortcut to go to the grocery store, which is plain Russian roulette. 94% of our pedestrian crashes, excuse me, KUT, I'm getting ready to drop you here. Uh-oh. There we go, thank you. 94% of our involved pedestrian crossing were prohibited. 50% of pedestrians are crossing mid-block, which we know is against the law. 44% of these pedestrian fatalities involve crossing the highway or a service road or shoulder. And 6% of these fatalities involving pedestrians involve the drivers of these vehicles failing to yield the right-of-way to pedestrians. We know that about 44% of the pedestrians that were killed year to date, impairment is suspected. That's nearly half where impairment is suspected. Our motorcycle fatalities, 89% of them have occurred on a high-speed road or highway, and 33% of them involved alcohol or other impairment. The motor vehicle fatalities means other vehicles. 82% are on arterial, 50% are on arterial streets, and 82% occurred on high-speed roadways or highways, with 68% involved impairment. So as you can see from this data that I've shared with you all, we are making the wrong choices in Austin, Texas. Too many people are making the wrong choices, and as a result, we're having too many people die. So today is a call for action. It's a call for an assessment. We are calling on all Austinites, whether you're using our highways as a pedestrian, as a bicyclist, as a motorcycle rider, as a passenger vehicle driver, or as a commercial vehicle driver. We want you all to take a look in the mirror tonight when you get home and ask yourself, am I being personally responsible? Am I playing Russian roulette with the lives of myself, people that are riding in my car, my neighbor, or the person around me? Because at the end of the day, these partners you see here, we're going to continue to do our very best, but the only ones that are going to make a difference is the people that we serve. Enough is enough. Enough blood, enough destruction, and so the call today is for action. We can stem this today if everybody does their share, and that means that you're not part of the problem. And so before I come up to make my final comments and take some questions, I'm going to call on Jim Dale, the Assistant Director of the Department of Transportation, and a great partner who is working diligently with the Austin Police Department to look at these issues as they relate to traffic safety and fatalities in our city. Jim?
Thank you, Chief. Well, I just want to say again, thank you to the Chief, but also thank you to the media for being here. It's a really important message that we want to get out to the community, and y'all are a great partner in helping us do that. Like the chief mentioned, we are working together. It's APD, it's the transportation department. We're working on, of course, APD is working on the enforcement side, the transportation department's working on the engineering side, but we also have this two other very important pieces to that. That's the education side, and with you guys here, that's helping us get that message out. But the fourth part is what the chief really stressed, and that's back to the public that we serve. They can be another part, another player in making the streets safer for Austin. And so it comes back to, we look at these fatalities that have occurred, and they are avoidable, just as the chief said. So I want to go through just a couple of items here. For us, we must do better, and that's definitely as a community. So many people that have lost their lives have been for avoidable reasons. And so I'm asking, but also pleading with our community to take action, just as the chief was saying. Our teams, again, is the education, the engineering, and enforcement side. We're working together on a regular basis to address not only the fatalities that occur, but also just safety in general, transportation safety. We work very closely with the police department and others in the community. I want to talk on a couple of specific items, and the chief mentioned these too, but pedestrians. We see a lot of pedestrian fatalities out there, and again, these being avoidable. Like the chief mentioned, crossing mid-block, crossing the highways, those are decisions that can be made differently to cross at the interchanges, to cross at signalized intersections. And so when you're out there, either if you're walking by yourself, if you're walking with friends, and you need to cross the street, please take the time, walk a little bit further to get to the city, to get to one of our pedestrian hybrid beacons that we work hard in finding the appropriate locations for those to help pedestrians cross. Go to those crossings that are more protected for you to cross than mid-block with traffic coming at you, especially on the highways. That traffic is moving so fast, and it's hard to judge that distance and that speed at which they're traveling. The second thing I wanted to talk about was alcohol. We see about 50% of the crashes or more at times involve alcohol of some form. What I want to say there is for everyone's heard it, don't drink and drive. Well, also, don't drink and walk. Don't drink and bike. Take the time. There's other resources in the community to help you get home safely in the evening or at any time when you may have had too much to drink. We have taxis, we have Uber, we have Lyft, we have Capital Metro, a number of different services out there that will help you get home in the evening. Please use those services. And then I just want to close just with our commitment to our community. And again, look at each and every one of these fatalities, and we're looking at each and every one of the fatalities that occur and see if there's something that we can do, from the engineering side to have improve the safety of that location. Maybe it's something that couldn't have addressed the fatality that occurred, but it's something that we can look at just in general, improving the safety. But we need your help. We need the community's help to do this. We're working hard. You see the folks up here to address transportation safety in the community, but we do need the public's help as well. All right, thank you. I want to turn it back over to you.
Could you spell your name, please?
Sure. Jimdale.
Don't call him Dolly, call him Dale. And now I'd like to invite another real, I think, partner in this, and she's the staff liaison for Vision Zero, and that's Jennifer Dunn.
Thank you very much, Chief, and thank you, Mr. Dale from Austin Transportation, and thank you all of you for being here and joining us in this effort. 2015 has been an especially tragic year for Austin's traffic fatalities, and we have already surpassed last year's total. But for every person that dies, there are 3 or 4 more that are seriously injured. And these are more than just numbers. These are members of our families, these are our friends, these are our coworkers. And it's a tragedy that has touched many Austinites and leads us to the question of how many serious injuries and fatalities are acceptable. Vision Zero Task Force came together around the idea that any traffic death is too many. And if we look at the top causes of those collisions, distraction, intoxication, speed, and failure to stop, we realize that all of those are preventable. Therefore, no death is acceptable. The task force convened in January of this year to bolster safety efforts already underway with APD and ATD, and to work towards holistic solutions for eliminating traffic death and injuries through a collaborative and comprehensive approach which addresses engineering, education, and design. We have 60 members on the task force representing Austin Police Department, Austin Transportation Department, other city, federal, and state agencies, and several community groups, all of which who bring a significant amount of perspective and expertise to transportation safety. The task force is creating an action plan to identify short-term strategies for preventing injuries and saving lives, and that plan will go to council for adoption later this year. But the agencies already on the task force are already collaborating in new ways and finding ways and solutions that we can act on traffic safety now. The task force has also released an initial set of maps which highlight the hotspots and where deaths and injuries are occurring, using 5-year data from the Texas Department of Public Transportation. Working with UT's Center for Transportation Research, we've also begun to dig into the details of why, where, and how these injury and fatal collisions are occurring, using long-term data to try to identify patterns in otherwise seemingly random occurrences, and finding solutions that agency task members can start using immediately. In using this data, the Vision Zero Action Plan calls for a targeted educational campaign for each of those top causes and those modes of transportation, and with continued support for current and ongoing initiatives of Austin Police Department and Austin Transportation and our other partners on the task force. Too many Austinites do know what the tragedy of a traffic collision can cause in their life, and many of us may have had a close call. Sometimes that might have been as a result of a mistake. As the Vision Zero Task Force moves forward with an analysis of collisions and the action plan to eliminate deaths and serious injuries, we're looking at the collaborative solutions to help ensure that those fatal mistakes are not fatal. Thank you.
Jennifer, can you say your name, please?
Sure. Do you want me to spell it?
Yes.
It's Jennifer, D-E-N-T-O-N.
So I think the message is really loud and clear. We have a problem, and the solution is not just enforcement, the solution is not just engineering, the solution is not just education. The true solution is the force multiplier that we call upon each and every day to keep Austin, Texas, one of the safest American cities as it relates to violent crime, and that's the public. You are the force multiplier. You are ultimately the ones that are going to stem the flow of fatalities and crashes in our city. And it starts today. Today, August, this day in August is the day that we start to turn this around. So I'm just thankful for our partners. We know that this city's engineering in terms of roadway capacity, in terms of planning, not because of what's happening today, but because what happened 30 years ago in terms of people that are trying to stop growth by building the transportation infrastructure that we need. We know that we have some really stressed infrastructure. And when you have stressed infrastructure, it requires us that much more to be good stewards of that limited infrastructure and to drive in a safe, sober, sane manner. And that's what we're calling there for today. So with that, I will open it up for any questions.
Chief, when it comes to the population growth, have you looked at other cities like San Antonio to see if we are in comparison to them or if we are above the numbers?
You know, we don't really, to me, you could be number one in terms of safety or last in terms of safety. My issue is not how do we stack up against other cities. My issue standing here today is how we stack up against ourselves. And right now, we're not stacking up very well. We have killed 67 people. We have lost 67 lives. 67 people in our community that are gone as a result of bad choices. You know, I worked really hard as a police chief to call for Uber. You know, that wasn't popular. We called for those ride-sharing opportunities because we wanted to make it additional resources available for people to make good choices. You know, we're talking about if you're going to drink, be careful being a pedestrian. People think that if they can go out, as long as they're not going to drive, they can get as high as they want on alcohol, and as long as they're not driving, they're not putting anybody at risk. Well, they're wrong. They're putting themselves at risk when you're a drunken public walking around drunk, and you're putting that person that's driving that vehicle, that when you walk out in front of them in that minivan with a family going home from a nice day at the park, the driver ends up taking evasive action, loses control and wraps it around a pole, you're putting that person at risk. So there's no such thing as not putting people at risk when you go out in the public, you overindulge, and then you walk, ride your bicycle, ride your motorcycle, or drive your car away. You always put others at risk, and there's no excuse for it. And alcohol still plays a huge role. We're now doing undercover operations in the entertainment district, but again, our eyes and ears are the public. If you see an establishment where you know there's a bad habit of a bartender or someone over-serving people, as long as they have cash or a credit card, let us know. Because I think we have a moral obligation to enforce those laws and to keep people alive. Anything else?
Can you expand upon that a little bit? What are you looking for? As far as
We're looking for people that stumble up to a bar that are clearly visibly intoxicated, that should not be served, that have already been overserved, and because they still have a credit card or they have cash, they're served. And a lot of these establishments, what they do is that they overserve you, then when you become a problem, they just kick you out the door, and guess what? Now you become the city's problem. Now you become the police department's problem. Now you become EMS's problem. Now you become that sober driver's problem, simply trying to get from point A to point B, and you walk out in front of their car. And so we have to do better all across the board.
Are you seeing an increase in injury accidents and an increase in accidents total? Or is it just people are dying?
Serious injury crashes compared to last year are staying pretty steady, so there's no actual increase there. You would think that the serious injury crashes would more than double or spike up as well. So we're not seeing that trend. So it's just this year that we're seeing the large percentage jump in the fatality crashes. As far as overall crashes, they're staying pretty steady as well too. It's no giant leaps and bounds as we were from last year or the previous years. Just
We
the
have,
fatality.
we have so much stress on our roadways, so many people moving here every year. And one of the things, the City of Austin is seeing is a lack of, a pedestrian trying to get to the grocery store. How is APD working with the city to make sure there are enough pedestrian hybrid beacons and crosswalks? Are they reporting back, we had a auto-ped here, an auto-ped here, making it like, just at Bluestein Boulevard, there's,
Yeah. And you know what, we do work very closely, we're their eyes and ears, and then we share the information. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Thank you, Chief. Yes, our department, we're the ones that install the signals and the pedestrian hybrid beacons. Right now, we have right around 40 pedestrian hybrid beacons have been put out there in the city. We started back in 2009. We also maintain a list of requests. So anytime a citizen calls 311, that request gets added to the list, and we evaluate that location for a pedestrian hybrid beacon. Right now, we have over 100 requests for pedestrian hybrid beacons that we're evaluating and deciding where to recommend the placement of those. But one of the things that we do want to leave you with is if there is an issue out there, like the chief was saying too, if you see an issue that you need addressed on the law enforcement side, contact 911. Well, for us, it's contacting 311. If the public sees an issue in terms of traffic issue out there, please contact 311. Those requests come straight to us, and they basically drive a lot of our work. Thank you.
Mr. Dale, what can you say about Slaughter Lane, where we've had 2 fatal crashes in the last 4 days? I know a lot of people have problems with making left turns coming out of places there. That was where what we had happen yesterday.
For those 2 fatalities, we're still gathering the information and taking a look at what actually happened there, and is there anything that can be done from an engineering standpoint. And so we'll look more closely at that and see what we can do. If there's an opportunity to improve safety, you better believe we're going to do that. On the other side of that, there is very congested, one of our more congested intersections in town, and so we do look at that regularly in terms of signal timing and trying to address the mobility side as well.
Let me just add something else that people need to be aware of. If you're trying to make a left turn where it's an uncontrolled intersection, for example, you're northbound, you're trying to go westbound, you're trying to make a left turn, and it's challenging left turn, there's a simple solution to that. Turn right. Turn right. Why risk yourself? The city will never be able to put up stop signs and control signals at every single intersection in this city. It's just not the way that traffic can flow. So if you're at an intersection where you think it's really dangerous to make a left turn, and you're having a hard time getting out of there, there's a simple solution. Take the extra 2 minutes it will take you to go right. Very simple. because that extra 2 minutes may be the difference between life and death, injury and death, or simply getting to your destination safely. I can tell you that I'm so familiar with some of those intersections, and what I do, unless I'm lucky enough where there's a huge break in traffic, is I simply turn right. And that is what this is about today. It's about people making better choices. It's about people being smart. And it's about people taking responsibility for themselves, their passengers, their family members, and ultimately the stranger that they may never meet, but that they may put at risk by not making better choices. So with that, I want to say thank you.
How much of this is just population growth, where we were just voted the best city to live in? Everyone's coming here, they're new, and
Well, we're also one of the most educated cities in the country, right? We're supposed to be educated. I've been saying since 2001 for over 8 years that I couldn't tell that we're so educated based on the way we drive. We still have way too many aggressive drivers. We still have too many people that drink and drive. We still have too many people that go to the bar, get completely intoxicated, and then they go out into the street and then they expect to get home safely when in fact, too many of them are walking out in front of cars. We saw it on here. So we just have too many people making poor choices. Growth is obviously part of it, but every single fatality is preventable. And that's what's frustrating for me, that people aren't making better choices. And life's about choices. Right now, too many of us are making a choice that's getting us killed or seriously injured. And that's despite, I want you to think about if we didn't have the great medical resources we have here. This could be even worse if it wasn't for places like Brackenridge and our great EMS resources that we have. So thanks for coming out, and let's stem the flow.
In Spanish?
En español, como no, lo que necesiten. ¿Quién más en español? ¿Más nadie?